All right, we are live. Nothing touches me. I'm a walking razor blade. Good morning, everyone. We don't usually do this in the morning. Good morning, especially on the West Coast. You know me, my name is Jack Mangan. I am with the Metal Hall of Fame, MetalAsylum.net, and of course the Am I Evil graphic novel. Derek Ma, the artist, and I are making progress. We have an exciting announcement coming up, but stay tuned for that. But this morning, I'm joined, as always, by my partner in crime over there, Rich Catino.
Morning, well, afternoon for me. 12 noon here for me. So hello, everybody. I'm from Metal Asylum, also the Metal Hall, Brave Words Magazine. And today we are joined by Mr. Charlie Benante from Anthrax. Welcome.
Hello. How are you guys?
How you doing?
I'm doing
good. How you doing?
It's springtime.
Yes. Yes. After a long winter, looking forward to it.
Opening day today.
Well, let's start with controversy then. What's your team?
Where are you? Go ahead, Jack.
I'm sorry. Yeah, let's start with controversy right away. You can piss people off, Charlie. What's your team? You know, growing up in New York and now being Chicago based, who do you cheer for these days?
Well, so I mean, I don't really. I'm partial, of course, to the New York teams, and I'm kind of partial to the Cubs because I don't know. I just like the history of both teams, of course, the Cubs and the Yankees. And you know, since I've lived here, I've become more of a Cubs fan, and I don't know, man. It's just all about a good game for me. You know, like I'll watch a good game of anything. It could be, you know, tennis or, you know, I don't know about golf, but you know.
Cool.
That's how it is.
All right. All right. There, that didn't piss anybody off. All right, go ahead, Rich. I'm going to share this around.
All right, so Charlie, you got a lot of things that you're working on right now coming out this year. So can you give everybody a brief overview of what you were doing?
So the past year, I was doing a lot of recording, a lot of artwork. During the pandemic, I tried to be creative and not sink down into a deep depression, which I felt a lot of us all were doing in the beginning of the pandemic, you know, and which is how this whole thing kind of came about because I was getting really depressed, watching news 24/7, checking my phone, like, you know. So Carla, my girlfriend, told me to stop watching it because she saw how nuts I was getting. And she's like, go be creative again, go do music, go do art. And that's basically what I did. And I started doing these quarantine jams in February. And I kind of knew that some of my friends in other bands were probably going through the same withdrawal that I was, because at the end of the day, we're musicians, but we're also entertainers, you know. And I was missing that, you know, the camaraderie with my bandmates and making music again. So I called up some friends, and this was soon after Neil Peart had passed away, and it was just on my mind a lot. And I said, "Hey, you want to jam out, do some Rush songs?" And Alex Skolnick and Ra Diaz said, "Okay, let's do it." And that's how it all started from that. And it just kind of snowballed.
Okay. All right, Jack.
Fantastic. Yeah, I got a million. I've tracked that all year. In fact, here's a little name drop. We talked to Tom Hazard and David Ellison last year, and we kind of agreed. Not many people won at 2020, but you guys did. I mean, let's say those guys did. Maybe Mike Portnoy, and you did. I mean, just with all the cool shit you had going on. I mean, I was watching those quarantine jams. I loved the song selections. I love the way you guys did that. And now, you know, it's led to the Silver Linings album. So can you tell me how you, well, out of all those great songs you guys did with all your friends, how did you kind of get the track list down? How'd you settle on the final album track list for Silver Linings?
Well, so for me, it wasn't about like winning anything. It was about basically surviving it and helping others to kind of survive it too. The greatest reward for me, besides making it happen, was getting messages from people that uh, a 4 minute, 5 minute video that I would put out would make people feel happy and maybe forget about that day. You know what I mean? So it started to get good to me, and I kind of wanted to pursue it more and more. And in the back of my mind, I had a list of songs that I always wanted to try and do. And I didn't go the typical like heavy metal route because I've never been one to just concentrate on one genre. Anthrax is the band that um, it's my it's my passion, you know what I mean? And the music that we create with that band is strictly heavy metal. We may go off the road here and there and do a little something different, but if out of all these songs, I think there's one metal song that I did, and that was the Iron Maiden song. Everything else was pretty much from different genres, whether it be a Massive Attack song, a Fleetwood Mac song, a U2 song, Public Image song. These are songs that I probably, you know, in my youth would like hear and later on would completely love. So I always had a list of songs that I wanted to play, and that's how I approached it.
Cool. Great. All right, Rich, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to give you an artistic song, artwork song. So what artwork did you do for Anthrax that people maybe not realize that's your artwork?
You don't, so not designing the piece, you mean actually doing the work?
Yeah, the actual work instead of the concept of it. Because I see you get credit for concept, but not the actual, design itself. So what have you done that people don't realize is yours?
So the inside of Spreading the Disease, there's this collage. It's like a cartoon
Mhm.
of that
Yeah.
year, and that's the
Got it.
record, and that's it.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah,
one of
so
yours.
I put that together. I also did the I Am the Law single that folds out into many different versions of Judges, which are the band members. I did that. I've done the Antisocial cover. I've done numerous T-shirts for the band, and but sometimes I get too busy to concentrate on actually doing them. So I give them out to other people because they probably could do a better job than I could.
Because you're credited for the concept of the cover, but you didn't actually do the cover, correct?
No, I designed all the covers for the band, but I didn't actually do that. Don Bardigan did that one. He's also done Among the Living. He's done other
Right.
records. He's done Master of Puppets. He's done God, I can't remember the other ones, but he was part of that world that I kind of jumped into when we got signed to Island Records, which was a part of Warner Brothers. So they also had Atlantic, Electra. That was the whole.
Mhm.
The company had all of them. So I would share in the art department, and I would. Dude, those days were so amazing to me to go down to the art departments and the record companies and just spend the day and learn, about
Yeah.
what works, what doesn't work, how much things cost. It's like, really,
Yeah.
it's that much money to make an album cover, so you learn all
Right.
these things. And for the most part, I don't think a lot of bands really read the contracts when they get signed, but how much money you have for album budget, you know what I mean? So in that album budget, you have a certain amount of money to make your record. You have a certain amount
Right.
of money to do the artwork for the record and the packaging. Because to me, the packaging was always so important too. For me back in the day when I would get a Led Zeppelin or Kiss record, and you would just go
Yeah.
through that thing and just read everything, and you'd get a pop out love gun. It's like those are the things that
Mhm.
made it all worthwhile.
Yeah. So you've been
Yeah.
involved in the artwork as long as you've been playing music almost, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So as a kid, then, because I mean, I knew also the SOD, the Speaking English Would Die album cover. That was you also, right? That was your pen, your pencil. Yeah. So as a kid, like before you were in Anthrax, were you thinking like were you thinking what you wanted to do when you grew up? You wanted to be a metal drummer, or you wanted to be an artist, or what were you thinking as a kid?
I was thinking both.
Yeah.
I would hope to have the luxury of doing both in this career, and I always knock on wood and say thank God I was able to do both, because after high school I was in an art school, and then the band, we recorded a single around that time, and then boom, we were recording our first album, and then bam, right after that I was in a van going across country on tour. So I left art school in place to, let's try it. Let's see what happens. And I never looked back.
Very cool. That was a New York City based art school. I've known a couple of people who went to art
It
school in
was
New
it
York.
was in it was in Queens. It was a private school. It
Okay.
was more like drafting and stuff like graphic design. Um, I mean, I just wanted to have enough knowledge about it that I could then, continue on my own way. I like the more hands-on approach. Like if I'm gonna go do something, or I'm gonna jump into it, and then I'll figure it out as I'm doing it. But I like to have
Mhm.
some knowledge of it going into it.
Sure. All right. That leads to another question I have, but Rich, go ahead. I'll get back to it.
So what art mediums do you work with? Painting, drawing, illustration, a little bit of everything?
So usually I would always work on like canvas with acrylics, or
Okay.
I'm not much into oil at all because it takes too long to dry, and I don't have the patience for it. And then also markers. I use a lot of the Copic markers, which to me was like the day I found those was like the day like everything opened up. Like, oh my God, this exists. Um, then about, I don't know, maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I discovered this program for my iPad called Procreate, and that's kind of like, I used to have a Wacom tablet, which is basically what I used to use. There's a program called Sketch Artist. I used to use that, but then this program, Procreate for iPad, made it so much easier, and that's pretty much my go-to. I I could bang out art in probably 3 to 5 days to a week, as opposed to doing something on paper, which would take me about 2 weeks to a month.
So is this the format they use for the artwork for the art show that you did recently?
A lot of that was done in Procreate, but and then the I Am the Law cover for the graphic
Mhm.
novel that we're going to put out, I did that on Procreate too. So it's all mostly digital.
Oh, okay.
Very cool.
All right.
So yeah, actually, let's like I said, there's a bunch of things I want to ask about, but let's touch on the art show you did with Carla Harvey. Tell us about that whole experience. That must have been intense. It must have been great having all of your stuff on the wall, and tell us a little bit about what was on the wall, what people could see there, and how the event went.
So basically, what happened with that was she's been pushing me to do an art show forever, and I would always, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. Because it's like the fear of the unknown. You don't know what to expect, and it's a world that I just wasn't used to. And I'm like, really, people want to see like the stuff that I do on the wall, and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And finally, this year, I did so much artwork and music that I had an abundance of pieces. And we finally scheduled it, and we had to postpone it because the spike in COVID cases. That was back in November. And then we were going to try to do it again in January, but the climate was still kind of, it wasn't the right time to do it. And then finally March came around and things looked better, and we decided to do it. So the thing about my artwork is like I run the gamut of different things. I love pop culture. I love doing stuff like that. I love some of the heroes that I had growing up in the music world. I'm still drawn to drawing those type of things, like the Eddie Van Halen or Neil Peart or Kiss, and then horror. I'm always drawn to horror, so I'll do like Universal Monsters or the if you've seen the movie The Thing, there's the spider head that you know,
Right. Yeah.
or the like. I did that
Yeah.
piece, and then I've done other huge pieces of canvases. I've done Anthrax pieces where I've changed the basic concept. Like our album State of Euphoria. Going into it, the it was supposed to be the five of us in this vortex, but then when the final piece was shown to me, it was just one, and it looked like Joey, our singer, and it wasn't the rest of us. And so the basic problem with that was we used up all the money, the art budget money, and we couldn't change it. So we had to go with that. So I was like, okay, it's cool. So so little things like that. And so those are the type of pieces that I do. Things like that.
And a lot
Cool.
of these things you're talking about are on your website as well, so people know. They're all like prints and
Yeah.
things and signed on your, as I'm looking at it, on your charliebenante store.com. It's all up there.
Yeah. Yeah. And we may do another one in New York in the summer sometime. An art show in New York. We're thinking about it. Like I said, things are starting to get a little better. You know, I could see in the distance the green light is coming out. So, and I just found out yesterday we're playing a show in July in Wisconsin. So I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. We're getting back to normal, I think. But so let's talk a little bit more about the album, because like I said, I'm really excited about the album. That Massive Attack song you did is fantastic, and then of course the Mother Love Bone song, that one got me right here. That just fucking blew me away. It was incredible. I'm going to ask. It's also amazing who's who on the album. Is there any chance you're going to do some shows with some of your friends that, like a Silver Lining show? That would be amazing if you can kind of get some of these people together.
Oh, that would be awesome. You know, the the Rush songs are not on the record, as you can see.
Right.
But because we're going to save that for a record store day EP of just the Rush songs. And I could
Okay.
really see I could see that band doing some fun shows together, you know? It would be hard to put everybody else together, but maybe that is kind of more realistic thinking, you know? Like the four or five of us could get together and pull it off, you know?
That would be amazing. Yeah, I'd love to hear that. Yeah, I loved. Well, obviously, I'm rocking the Rush shirt. Yeah, obviously, I loved those Rush songs too. I
Yeah, I saw that.
noticed that they noticed that they didn't make. Yeah, those were fantastic too. Yeah, that would be awesome. All right, Rich, go ahead. I know you got some questions.
So does the artwork that you do you collaborate with Carla Harvey also, or this is all just your work?
We collaborated on two pieces, and it's of course horror related. It's half of the drawing is like the Frankenstein monster, the other half is the bride, and she did the bride and I did the Frankenstein, and we've done like two or three variations of that one. I like that one the best, to be honest with you, because I don't know, just we both collaborated on it, and it was a lot of fun to do, and it was like the first thing that we did together, and it was just fun. It was actually in Famous Monsters magazine uh,
Oh,
three or 4 years ago.
Very cool.
yeah.
So, well, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the comic. Obviously, that's a subject near and dear to our hearts, since we got our own thing going on. But tell us a little bit. I mean, this is initially what got us like really excited. Tell us a little bit about another who's who of people who came together to work on this project. So you have a bunch of writers and a bunch of artists on the Among the Living graphic novel.
Yeah, and the thing about the comic is that I've been wanting to do a comic book for quite a long time now, because um, if you go back to the We Come For You All album, the idea that I had was this alternate world that we were living in, and the band being kind of like in superhero form, and that's how the whole our logo with the A, the what we call the Pentathrax came from the idea I had of this comic book, and that would be our, like, our emblem or whatever. So that album cover goes into worship music, which goes into For All Kings, and it's a story that I've yet to kind of put on paper, but it's in my head somewhere. So that was put on hold in place of this Among the Living graphic novel that Josh Bernstein from Z2. We've had a relationship with Josh for years, and he came to us, and as soon as he said it to me, I was just like, "Yep, I want to do it. It sounds great." And the only way that like we agreed to do it is that we wanted to pick certain people who could tell the story, and have some killer artists also doing it. So we picked a few of our favorites. They picked a few, and then boom, it just started to work out really well. And Rob Zombie said, "Yeah, I'd love to do it." Corey from Slipknot said, "Yeah, I'd love to do it." Gerard and Mikey Way from My Chemical Romance said, "Yeah, I want to do it." Brian Posane's. I mean, it's like we started getting people that we were like, "Wow, this is really starting to come together and really well." And that's how it all happened. And we just wanted to be a big part of it, whether like I was doing some artwork for it. Scott's writing the story. Frank is writing a story. Joey's doing something for it. So it was a collective effort,
I also read that the band members also wrote part of the stories too, like their own story or something.
Scott wrote the I Am the Law story, and I think Frank collaborated with somebody on the One World song story. So we didn't want it to just be like, it just seems like these days a lot of bands are slapping a sticker on something and just saying, "Yeah, we have coffee," but it's not like that. It's like the coffee's not like that for me, especially. But either is the comic. We're like in it, we're doing it, we're making it happen. So it's back to that whole, do it yourself type of thing.
So the songs, each song is getting its own story. Is that the way it's going to be presented, sort of?
Exactly how it is. Yeah.
Cool.
The I'm the Law story, I think, is really cool. I don't want to give it away, but like when Scott and I were going back and forth, and he said, what if this happened? And I was like, "Oh, dude, that's gonna be awesome." Yeah. So the cover that I did kind of reflects that story.
Mm-hmm.
So were you able to get, I guess, the licensing or whatever for Judge Dredd from 2000 AD, or is it excellent? That's very cool. And so are you already? Yeah, well, yeah, I know that there's all kinds of legal loopholes, but so obviously you said that you have something in mind for some of the more latter day albums, which would be really cool. Are you guys, if this is a huge success, it sounds like it was already fun for you guys to create. Any chance there'll be a persistence of time or spreading the disease? You guys will do this treatment again, this graphic novel treatment for other Anthrax albums?
I think that would be really cool to do that, to kind of entertain the thought of possibly doing another album, because I think the Persistence album, the songs on that album can also be, told into different stories, So yeah, I'm definitely open, and I know the other guys are definitely open to that too. But yeah, let's, this one hasn't come out yet, so let's see how this all plays through, and which I don't even know the date of when it's coming out. I just keep seeing order now, and I'm like, well, okay, when?
Is it definitely scheduled for 2021?
Sure. I hope so.
Yeah, according to my Facebook ad, I get lots of Facebook ads telling me about it. So yeah, it's got to be coming up soon. They want me to pre-order it, but of course we will. I'm really excited for this. The marriage of metal and comics. It just seems like something that goes way back to you guys, especially. I don't know, to Anthrax. There was always a crossover between Anthrax and other mediums.
Yeah,
it's very true that we were like one of the bands that really embraced the marriage of comics and music together. And I mean, other bands dabbled in it here and there, but it wasn't as serious, or it wasn't as in depth as the I Am the Law song that we had. It was basically, that was Judge Dredd, and because of that
Mm.
song, really gave us a connection to the UK and the fans there, because I think they related to the whole story and the music of it. You know, the Judge Dredd character is just so awesome, and the four judges too. That was one of the things that sold me on that was the four judges. Loved the style and the look and the some of the artists who did that, like Brian Bolland. He's like one of my favorite artists. Whenever he would do the art for the comics, I that was some of my favorite artwork and some of my favorite stories.
Yeah, cool. And well, also I got to say, I read Among the Living as a teenager because of I was inspired by you guys. I read The Stand by Stephen King
Yeah,
because I was inspired by you guys. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
I've heard that a
uh,
lot actually from people.
so that was a great thing. You know, Anthrax expanded a lot of minds, I think, in that way. And then also, you know, with your cross genre work, you know, like I'm the Man, I think opened up a lot of our heads where we were like metal only, but then Anthrax, I think, caused a lot of us to expand our horizons and listen to other genres. So that was a big deal too. I give Anthrax a lot of credit for that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, because a lot of people forget that, and it's not something that we want to, like, thank you. It's just something that was a part of our, growth in being a band. You know, if you think about it, we our first record came out in '84. By 1986, we were doing crossover with rap, and it's like it's just a short matter of time, like things that we created in a short period of time that these days would take 10 years to do, if you know what I mean. Back then,
Yeah.
we put out so many records from 84 to 90. Now it takes 10 years to make one record, it's just a different way.
Yeah.
And if I
All right.
remember correctly, in the 80s, late 80s, I want to say around maybe State of Euphoria, when they started doing with the BMX bikes, you remember the skateboards? Didn't Anthrax have a skateboard also?
We had a skateboard, yeah. We were Some of us were like endorsed with the company Vision Streetwear, and then did we have a Zor? I forget what the name of the company was. It Zorlak, or I don't know. I forget. It was a long time ago, but
Hmm.
and I remember after James uh, broke his wrist, I think our management was like, enough with skateboards, guys.
That's funny. Yeah, I think they were supposed to be on SNL, right? And they couldn't because he broke his wrist. I remember because we couldn't
Yeah.
see him back in the day, so that was a big deal. But I think also people don't remember that was a big deal because it seems stupid now. I guess it was stupid then, but there was this division. Like there was the skaters, and then there were the metal kids, and they didn't really, they might mix, but not really. And then you guys kind of blew all that shit away, which was that was awesome. Like when the Public Enemy album came out, and like the metal kids and the rap kids were listening to it. That was a big deal, and like I said, Anthrax I think had a lot to do with that.
I think it was. It was definitely, we were definitely on the cusp of something, and I think a lot of times our problem was we were just ahead of it, and then later on, other bands took advantage of it. If you know what I mean. So, but whatever, it's music. I always said, because of that Public Enemy collab, that'll probably be the thing that gets us into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Hopefully, yeah. All right, go ahead, Rich. I know you got some questions.
What's your connection to this company called Creature from the Living? Is that a company? Am I correct?
Yeah. So
Is that is that connected to the Creature from the Black Lagoon artwork that I saw that's connected to it? Did you do that design also?
okay, so let me back it up a bit. So back
Okay.
in the late '90s, we were on tour in Japan, and I met somebody by the name of uh, Kenichi Kinoshita. Okay, he was a big fan, and I became friends with him. But none of us wanted to call him Kenichi, and I came up with his name was Kenny G. So from now on, he's known as Kenny G, because it sounds like Kenichi. So he and his brother they made toys, and we wanted to do some. He wanted to do some toys and some other things, and I said, "Yeah, I'll get involved. I'll do it." And we did an SOD doll. We did a Not Man doll, and then he went into like the clothing line, and I would do a lot of the designs for his T-shirts and clothing. And that one from the living creature from the
Okay.
Black Lagoon was one of the things that he used. So Kenny basically continues to do his line of clothing, and I provide him artwork, and that's basically what it is. And he does a limited amount of stuff, and it's only in Japan,
Mhm.
and that's just the way he does it.
So the creature from the living, that's all your design, that redrawing of the creature?
Yep. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's one of my favorites. As you can see, is behind me.
Yes, I know.
Oh,
It's
It
one
looks
of my
great.
favorites too, the Gill Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, those movies are so great. It's like
Yeah.
the earliest version of Jaws.
Yes. Yep.
So what are some
Yep.
other classic horrors that you go? Do you like the 1930s Dracula and 1930s Frankenstein, like the originals, or is that what you go to? Are you more Hammer, or is it just all of the above?
Um, I was definitely more Universal monsters than Hammer. Hammer to me was okay, but it didn't have the look or the feel of the original, monsters. Like, you know, if you've ever seen Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, it's one of the greatest movies of all time. And
Yeah.
there you can see all the monsters, except
Yep.
Boris Karloff wouldn't do it. So they had a
Right.
different actor playing the Frankenstein monster. Although Bela Lugosi was in it, Lon Chaney Jr. was in it, but Boris Karloff is not in it, which is kind of a bummer. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. When I tell people I legitimately think that the original Bride of Frankenstein is one of the greatest movies ever made, and also Young Frankenstein following on its footsteps. People always like think I'm kidding. Like, no, really, this is a brilliant movie. The scene where she comes out and is kind of hissing at everybody, that's just brilliant. That's amazing stuff.
Yeah, it's
We've done horror. We can geek out about this stuff.
the thing that some people forget. Like people are into like the Walking Dead and zombie movies, and they have to remember that those were the original zombies, just put
Right.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
No, absolutely. All right, Rich. I don't know. Go ahead. Ask a question.
Okay. So punk rock and paintbrushes on Facebook. Is that where people can get your prints and things like that, or can they get other things from there? What's that on Facebook?
Basically, punk rock and paintbrushes are a company that has other artists, and they do shows around the world. And basically, um, we are working with them. And yes, you can get some of the stuff through them, but you could also go to my website, Carla's website, and get it
Right.
just through us if you want it. Which is probably the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, Jack.
All right, I got to switch gears to another one of your passions. So I know we've got Benante's Blend out there. Have you kind of are you in your life now a coffee snob? Like, could you not go to a gas station and just get a cup of coffee just to refuel and caffeine up? Or is it more about the ritual and the French press and all that stuff?
No. But I will say I've always been somewhat of a coffee snob. Back in the day, and I'll stay it to this day, McDonald's coffee to me was always some of the better coffee. Um, and I know people are going to be pissed at me saying this, but I've always hated Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts to me is like coffee flavored tea. It just doesn't have the kick, and
Yeah.
it doesn't excite me, and it's just like bleh. But
I'm walking off
but
this interview. I'm out.
but McDonald's coffee is good. But yeah. So I could tell you the exact time when I was in Seattle and went to that place called Starbucks for the first time, and then I don't know, man. I think the ground beneath me started to shake, and I was just like, what is this magical thing that I am smelling and tasting? And then Starbucks took over the world, and I'm happy for it. The thing I love about Starbucks, and maybe some people can relate to this, but if I'm in Russia and there's a Starbucks and I go and get that coffee that I've had by my house in Seattle, California, New York, it's going to taste exactly the same. It's familiar to me, and that's why I love it. So with my coffee, I spent so much time uh, getting the blends right and everything, and going down to Dark Matter, the coffee company that puts my coffee out, and we all sat around this huge table and we sampled coffees and just spit it out. And it was just fun. It's like this is great, man, doing this and picking the blends so that when people have their morning experience, whatever experience they have with coffee. For me, I like waking up, sometimes grinding the beans and getting the house to stink of the coffee, and then just that first sip, it's magic. But it's about the experience. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, I saw, watch some of the videos you did with some other guest stars like Tom Araya and David Ellison. And I could just see the passion just kind of radiates from you and your guests, just about how much it's like I said, it's not just about popping into a quick trip and getting refuel. It's I can see it's about the experience. That's what you convey. That
Well, that's the whole thing with those some of the guys who are kind enough to do that with me, especially Tom, because Tom doesn't do much of those at all, and we just sat down talking about it. You know what I mean? Talking about different things. Most of those guys are coffee lovers. Some have never even tried coffee. Like Michael from Volbeat never had coffee before, and we were on tour together. And I said, "Let me make you some coffee." And you're either gonna throw it at me or you're gonna be like, "This is good." So I made him some coffee, and now he's hooked. He loves it. So it's like great. I've he's a coffee achiever.
nice. All right, and yeah, so it's exciting. I don't know if people are aware about Benante's blend. I don't know if you want to pimp it a little bit more or tell people about it, where they can get it.
Yeah, can they get it in stores also, or is it just through online?
I can't get it in stores yet, but it's on my website. You could get it there, and like the other blend that I had, but we don't do it anymore. But we actually just did a batch of it. Was the coffee with Fernet Branca in it, and Fernet Branca is like it's an after dinner kind of digestive. It's kind of in the not so much the Jaeger family. It's like an Amaro, and we just let the beans soak in it, like just saturate with it, and then the smell and the taste is just amazing. But we don't do that as much as we used to anymore. So it's like a limited time. We'll put some out.
Cool. All right, Rich. Where are we going
Are you
next?
currently working on any artwork?
Yes.
Anything to talk about?
Uh,
There's top secrets.
right now, I'm working on a new Rush cover. It's probably going to be our last one. It's just going to kind of close the book on all the Rush songs, and this one's probably my favorite one that we've done. But I won't tell you what it is yet. Although it's from the album with the dog near a hydrant.
All right.
Okay.
So that narrows it. All right. So I got to ask, I know you have a lot of stuff going on in your life. I know you're a family man. You've got, we just talked about coffee, art, music, Anthrax, the quarantine stuff, and among the books and everything. How do you kind of family and all this stuff? How do you keep the balance? How do you like from day to day? How do you kind of keep it all together and stay focused on stuff?
Well, if this year has taught me anything, it's like while many people were really like frustrated with, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, oh, this quarantine is killing me and all this stuff. There's a lot of other people who are suffering way worse than a lot of us did, and I tried to just. That's how the title of the record came out, Silver Linings, because there's so much dark stuff that's been going on, and it's like I saw silver linings in the whole thing. Uh, I get to see my daughter every day. You know what I mean? It's like I get to work on stuff. I get to enjoy the family vibe, and man, it's just like you got to look at into things, and you got to look at the goodness of it, and not just always dwell on the negative. So that's how my year went. Just trying to be productive, trying to keep, be happy, because we all could have sunk down to a darker place, but thank God we didn't. And we're all going to survive this. A lot of people didn't survive it, but that's a whole other interview. That's a whole other story.
Sure. I guess, but even in non post-apocalyptic times, even when we're not dealing with pandemics and other crazy shit, like when you're just on tour, like how do you kind of keep a balance and stay from going? Because there are people who can't hack it, who just, it's too much, they kind of fall apart. How do you and everyone else in the band, how do you guys kind of keep your heads?
We stay busy, and the dynamic on tour is so different than it was 15, 20 years ago, with the arrival of phones and everything like that. People are more chained to that than they were hanging in a group the way we used to. We still hang in a group, but it's not like it once was, because everybody has families and kids and stuff like that. So, like I said, the dynamic has changed. Um, and the older you get, your priorities change too. You can't help it, but life continues. And I'm just glad that we're still at this age and we're still able to do this, which is something that I'm so grateful for, that we've kind of lasted this long, and we're still here.
Great. All right, Rich.
Okay. So tell us your connection to Kiss Rock and Roll Over. It's my favorite. It's my favorite, actually, Kiss album from the classic era. And then you did this concept for the DVD. So it's your favorite Kiss album also, right? From that classic era, correct?
Correct. And
okay, so tell us about that. And do you have any prints or reworks of that album cover as well, or this is the only thing that you guys did?
well, that was basically done like digitally, so there is no hard copy of it. But Kiss fans would understand certain little things in our cover. There's a teardrop on Frank's eye. So the original Rock and Roll Over, if you got
Right.
the Columbia House version, there was a limited run of ones that had a teardrop on Paul's eye, which I can't find it. And then
Yeah, I don't
I've
have that
heard
one.
it. I've heard it's either it does exist or it doesn't exist. But from what I heard, it's from that Columbia House pre-order
Okay.
thing, and so I had to throw it in that, because that is,
Yeah.
that's how much of a nerd I am about Kiss stuff. But yeah, I mean, Gene Simmons said about that cover, "You guys promote Kiss more than Kiss promotes Kiss," and that to me was the greatest thumbs up I could get.
It's a great. It's a great album. I love that album.
Right.
Yeah, Rock and Roll Over is my favorite Kiss album besides Alive. And if you guys follow that Shout It Out Loud podcast, which is recently, we did the brackets, and it was like easy for me to do it, because I don't know, man. It's like after 1978, 79, I still loved Kiss, but I didn't love them as much as I did from 73 to 78. So those records in that time still means a lot to me than the ones later. I wasn't into the non-makeup records.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get to see them in the 70s when you were a kid?
Oh yeah. I saw them a few times when I was a kid. My sister took me, my cousins took me, and it was just like going to the fucking circus.
Awesome. All right, Rachel, do you have more on that?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You take one.
All right, so I don't know. I loved Scott Ian's book. I thought it was a really great book. I thought he did a great job with it. So I think you've had a great story. You've had a fascinating life. Is there going to be a Charlie Benante autobiography written? Is that something you got coming up?
I get asked about that a lot, and I always say I'm not going to write a book until I'm done with the band.
Okay.
Because once I write the book, I'm talking shit about everybody.
All right, we got to hear that. Well, all right. So I'll go in a different route from there. Obviously, we're not looking for dirt. We're not looking for you to talk shit. But is there any hope for us, hardcore, diehard Anthrax fans?
No.
No, there's not. Okay,
No.
there won't ever be.
No.
No. All right. I won't even ask the
I don't
question.
even,
Charlie's
I don't
already
even know
said
what the
no.
question is. That's awesome. We're just leaving it open ended, huh? It's up to interpretation.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
No, all right. Go ahead then, Rich. You ask the next question.
At least I wouldn't be involved in it. I'll say that.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
So I'm on your website again. What is the Boo Forever Metal face covering? Can you talk about that?
That's just like it started out as a joke. Me and Mike Portnoy at the Big Four show in California. We wanted to commemorate the day, and we're both Starbucks lunatics. We drink it like like it's water, and I think we were drunk. Maybe no, I don't know. Maybe we were, but I got a friend to have a tattoo artist come down to the show and tattoo Mike and I with this Forever Metal logo that I wanted to look like a Starbucks logo and just commemorate the day of the Big Four, blah, blah, blah. And I just liked it so much that I wanted to continue that Forever Metal kind of thing. And that's how that logo came up. Is basically Mike and I's idea. And then Mike was like, "You stole my Forever Metal idea," and I'm like, "Sorry, Mike."
Okay.
Nice.
All right.
So I got to ask, all right, you mentioned earlier about how you approach new things. And I've seen, you're not only like one of, I think, most metalheads' favorite drummers of all time, but also a really accomplished guitar player. And as we saw, a damn good piano player, as we saw in the quarantine jams. How did you approach guitar and piano and any other instruments that you've mastered?
Guitar was something that I taught myself how to do out of I couldn't convey the riff or the song that I was hearing in my head on the drums, so I had to basically teach myself how to play guitar because that's the only way I was going to get it across. And I think I practiced and just played from songs that I love, like AC/DC songs, Kiss songs, and everybody learns how to play guitar from like Smoke on the Water, and you just kind of take it from there.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did. And throughout the years, I just got better and better at it. And that's how it was, to the point where I'm so passionate about guitar playing that sometimes I've always said I'll be in my studio and I'll be playing, taping stuff, and I forget where I am. Like I get possessed by the guitar and the riff, and then I'll listen back to what I recorded, and there's like, wow, there's a ton of good shit here, and that's just how it happens, and I love when that happens.
Great. All right, Rich, go ahead.
Back to the artwork. So you got a Princess Leia signed design you did, right?
Yeah.
That's your it's signed as well. Yeah, you signed it too, right?
Yeah.
So how was that artwork created? What's the medium for that? And do you have any other Star Wars artwork that you're doing related?
So it seems kind of weird to me and kind of, I don't know, it's like kind of cathartic that piece of art was created when Carrie Fisher passed away, and I had met Carrie Fisher a year prior to that, and she was like the nicest. I don't know, man. It was just such a weird thing. Like, you see these people in magazines, you see them on the screen, and then when they're actually in front of you, it's a bit of like, what the fuck, This is Carrie Fisher. This is Princess Leia, and I don't know, man. It's such a strange thing. Like, sometimes you meet your idols and your heroes, and you have to take a step back and realize that they're just human, you know, too. But the thing that they do to you just kind of inspires you and just excites you, and that's such a good thing. I mean, that's what life is all about, you know, like just being inspired and getting, you know, the hair on your arms to stand up. That means something. Um, so I created that in Procreate, and I wanted to do it in a very abstract way, almost look like oil painting,
Yeah, that's
and
what it looks like. Yeah.
that's how that one was created. And it's probably one of my favorite ones because she just looks so stern, but yet kind of angelic. And I just wanted to show that and
Hmm.
all the colors around her. But I love
Yeah.
Star Wars. I mean, it's such a big part of growing up. And to this day, I still get excited when I see certain things, you know, based on
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
But
Do you have any
I
other?
didn't like the movies that much, but whatever.
Do you have any other Star Wars related artwork that you're going to be doing besides her?
Uh, I did a Chewbacca.
Okay.
But I never finished it. And I'm probably gonna tackle that one because I love that character of Chewbacca. He's to
Mhm.
me, he's the most metal out of all of them. His hair is all fucking 80s and just looks cool.
Yeah. I've met Peter
Excellent.
Mayhew too. He's a giant. I don't know. Have you met anyone else? He's the only one of the original cast I've met. Have you met other people from other Star Wars
Uh,
cast?
I've met pretty much all of them except for like Harrison Ford, uh, because he doesn't do much of those things, you know.
Yeah.
I met I remember I remember meeting Mark Hamill back in the 90s at some convention, and Mark he was just walking around. This is when he first started doing the voiceovers, the cartoon. Um,
Mm.
Right.
he did the Joker, and
Right.
fucking Mark Hamill, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it's like, you know, throughout the years you meet this one, you meet that one, and you know, it's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. I
Good
know
job.
we don't have a whole lot of time left, but so I guess can you tell whatever you can tell us? Obviously, we know some things got to be state secrets and all, but can you tell us what do you have other than the silver linings? What do you have coming up for the rest of 2021?
Well,
Whatever you can.
I think Anthrax are going to do a special kind of. I would say it's going to be along the lines of this kind of 40th anniversary thing that we're putting together. We're going to do a live stream type of thing where we're going to play. We're going to try and do 40 songs during
Wow.
this live stream, and some of the songs are going to be kind of obscure songs that we've never even touched live. We've only done them in the studio. So some of those songs are probably going to be played on this one, and we're going to have fun with it. And that's the basic outline of what we're going to do. And that one, we may do that in June or July. And
Awesome.
then we're still working on a new record, of course, too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, so I'm going to ask. So, are there any Anthrax songs that you always felt like were just great and just didn't get enough love? Like, for example, like "The Enemy" to me is one of my favorite songs of all time. It's never really mentioned in Anthrax greats. Are there other songs that you feel are like just great, unappreciated, underappreciated Anthrax songs?
You know, sometimes like whenever I'm working on the anniversary edition or something, because I did the Among the Living one, then I did Spreading, and then State of Euphoria, and then Persistence, and then revisiting those albums years later really it gave me a better appreciation of them because at the time there was so much going on around the records that you just want to put it out. You don't want to hear it again because you spend so much time on it, you know. But
Hmm.
after doing those, like I said, I have a greater appreciation, especially the State of Euphoria. That was the one that was always my least favorite, but after revisiting it, I really appreciated it more. Because at the time, our schedule, it was insane. We didn't even finish the record, and we were already booked to do these Monsters of Rock shows in Europe, and we were under a lot of pressure, and that's why I always say I felt that record was a bit rushed because of the scheduling. And then after that record, we kind of took a breather and made the record, that we felt was a bit darker, which was the Persistence record. And in hindsight, if Persistence would have came out after Among, I think it would have worked a little better, you know.
Sure.
Um, but whatever, can't rewrite history. But yeah, there are a bunch of songs that I would like to approach again. Um, The Enemy is a great song. It's one of my favorites on Spreading Disease. But that song particularly was one of the songs that was carried over from like the Armed and Dangerous EP. There was like a group of songs that we had going into Spreading, then there was some that were written specifically during the record. So The Enemy was one that we had. We had Armed and Dangerous was another, and Gung Ho was another one. The newer songs that were being written were like Lone Justice, Madhouse, and then the last edition, we finished the record and everything. And I went home, but I still felt the record wasn't done. And then I had the song, which turned out to be AIR, and I did a demo of it, and I sent it up to the guys in Ithaca, New York, and they all loved it. And then I went back to the studio and we re-recorded. We recorded that song, which was AIR, and that song ended up being the first song on the record. And the funny thing about that song is, I think that's the song that bridges Spreading to Among. It just sounds like it
Sure.
could have been on Among the Living, but that's the direction we were going. So you could hear the difference, I think, in Spreading the older songs compared to the newer songs that were being written.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Yeah, like I said, I know we're getting low on time. I don't know if Richie had one more question to take us out, or how you. But yeah,
I got one more.
Sure.
When the pandemic ends, things get better. Would you ever consider hosting like a horror convention, like a chiller theater type of thing?
Oh yeah, I'd love to do that. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. When do you want to do that?
We'll start making some calls. We'll put it together.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, I just want to say thanks so much. It's been a lifelong fan. It's been an honor talking to you. It's been really great. Love your career and looking forward to more stuff from you. And if why don't you take us out with some words of wisdom or some words for the fans in metal world?
Well, I would say thanks to fans of this whole genre in general for being patient. And I know it's been a tough year, but things are gonna get back to normal or somewhat normal. And the only problem I foresee is like, how much money do you have to see 20 shows a week now, because everybody's going to be going, I need to go and play shows now, but so you're gonna have to pick and choose which one do you want to see. So make sure our show is at the top of the list. And but really, we'll see you guys really soon, and I look forward to it, to getting out and playing and feeling the vibe again.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. All right, Charlie Benante of Anthrax. Everyone check out Silver Linings. It truly is great. The quarantine jams, everything was great. And Benante Blind Coffee, Among the Living graphic novel. I don't know, did they leave anything else out?
The artwork that's on his page.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciated this, man. Really.
Thank you too.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.